Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's webinar on getting government contracts in Connecticut. I'm Tim Ryan, the workshop coordinator and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'll be your host. Our speakers today are Meg Yetishefsky and Natalie Della Rosa. More on our speakers in just a minute. I will ask Diana Washington from the Black Chamber of Commerce to do a welcome as one of our webinar partners. Diana?
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on our contracting series. A little bit about the Chamber and our other partner, the Bridgeport OIC BizHub 2.0. The Chamber is a business networking organization serving small and women-owned businesses in the greater Bridgeport communities. Our focus is to provide education and informational networking opportunities, workshops, free access to contract bids, MBE certification, along with business-to-business perks and information about grants, loans, events, and much more. Our goal is to make sure that our businesses are aware of the resources and services that are available to help them to either start or move their businesses to the next level. And Bridgeport OIC and BizHub 2.0 has been locking the doors of opportunities in the greater Bridgeport and surrounding towns for over 20 years. They provide a vital role in the struggle for economic justice by providing free job placement, skills development services, along with ServSafe certification, small business development, and urban farming. Led by Deborah Cavanis, President and CEO, OIC prepares and empowers adults for today's workforce and business ownership by changing the economic and environmental challenges. If you want to know a little bit more about either one of our organizations, I have left our contact information in the chat section. And again, thank you so much for joining us. Peter?
Thanks, Diana. Now, so for some brief info on SCORE, there's about 230 offices and 10,000 volunteers nationally. SCORE is an all-volunteer organization and an SBA resource partner. SCORE Fairfield County has about 100 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. We offer 3 primary evaluated services to small business owners. First, free one-on-one counseling. Second, educational in-person workshops and live webinars, about 100 per year, like this one. And then we have extensive resources on our website, including templates to help you build your business plan. Some useful info about today's event. If you have any question, please use the chat window at any time during the presentation. It is located in the lower part of your screen. Our workshop will end at 1 p.m. to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available to all attendees shortly and within a couple of days on our website. Now our speakers. Meg Yetishefsky is a Manager of Procurement Programs for the State of Connecticut, where she oversees several initiatives, including the Supplier Diversity Program. This program serves as a vital bridge for small vendors seeking procurement opportunities in both state and private sector markets. Under her guidance and 25 years of experience, the program has become a symbol of integrated diversity in the procurement process. Natalie Della Rosa is a contract analyst at the DAS Procurement Division, Supplier Diversity Program. Her role is to assist and spread the word on small business opportunities through business outreach events while reviewing applications for the Supplier Diversity and Pre-Qualification Program. Natalie interacts with contractors from a multitude of industries and provide resource information that guides on different opportunities available to promote the growth of the economy and expand the opportunities for all individuals. I'll now turn it over to you. It's all yours.
Thank you. I want to say good afternoon. It's 4 minutes afternoon, so good afternoon. My name is Meg Yetishefsky, and as mentioned, I'm accompanied by Natalie Della Rosa. We are part of the business outreach team at the Connecticut Department of Administrative Services, specifically the procurement division. This division manages most of the contracts for agencies across the state of Connecticut. State agencies use these contracts to purchase the products and services essential for their daily operations. So we're going to provide you an opportunity as you Connecticut businesses to learn a little bit about that process. To work with the state of Connecticut as a business, you will need to search for contracting and subcontracting opportunities. So we want you, all the small businesses that are on this call today, I'm very excited to be a partner with the state
I
of Connecticut.
can't talk now. I'm on a
We're
webinar.
looking to really be a partner of choice. We want you to choose to work with the state of Connecticut. So I'm excited today. We're going to answer 3 questions. We've really tailored this. We're going to answer why you should contract with the state of Connecticut. Are you ready to contract with the state of Connecticut? And then how do you find those contracts? How do you find those opportunities? A lot to cover. We're going to be fairly high level, but we will be here to guide you through that process when you get back to your offices and you reach out to us. Next slide. So
Meg,
let's talk a little bit about the state contracting and the benefits, right? We'll start with the very first question. Why should you contract with the state? To answer that question, I want to cover 5 C's of contracting. The first C is competition. There's a myth that the state has a list, and if you want to do business with the state, you have to get on this list. I will tell you today, there's no list. We practice competitive and transparent procurement process. This benefits us with better pricing and you with opportunities. The second is commodities. Listen, the state of Connecticut, we purchase everything. Last year, we spent over $1.1 billion on about 1,522 contracts, to give you kind of a scope. If you have a product and service to sell, it's worth exploring whether the state of Connecticut purchases those items. When I tell you we purchase everything, this morning I was on a call about fish food, right? We purchase fish food. We purchase shoes, commodities, different types of services. So it runs the gamut of different commodities. So think of us as a partner, right, of choice for you. The third is continuity. The demand of goods and services for the state remains consistent, whether the economy is strong or we're passing through lean times. You will find that we have continuity here as a client to you. Customers. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about this. Customers, if you are successful, the state contracting expands your customer base. You will be able to expand that as you are doing business with the state of Connecticut and are on one of our state contracts. And finally, the last C, if you will, is compensation. We pay our bills. For the majority of companies, we have payment terms of net 45. For certified small businesses, it's net 25. Electronic payment is in place, and we pay our bills. As all small businesses and any business, that's one of the things that's important to you. So the five C's I hope you take away with that this morning. Next slide.
So welcome everyone. As it was introduced, my name is Natalie. So now we want to answer the second question. Are you ready to contract with the state? We have created a checklist to help guide you in your preparations for state contracting work. In addition to sharing today's slides with you, we would like to share a handout that includes this checklist. Before we begin, it's important to note that we are providing general guidelines today. Every bid is different, so this list does not cover the needs for every opportunity that's available, but it does cover majority, at least most common ones.
Oh, yeah.
So, first we want to make sure your business is set up correctly and is in compliance with the government and industry requirements. A few items to consider. Ensure the business is registered with the Connecticut Office of Secretary of State. Obtain a federal employee identification number known as EIN, which you would obtain that from the IRS. And make sure that any required licenses, depending on the industry, that you have those required for your business. So any required licenses, trade licenses, and that they're active. Number 2, demonstrate capacity. Meg, this is your slide.
Okay, great. Thanks, Natalie. So again, demonstrating capacity, and these are things that we want you as a business owner to kind of think about before you're even entertaining doing business with the state of Connecticut. As Natalie went through the first couple things on the checklist, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about demonstrating capacity. So relevant experience. You will need to provide evidence of relevant experience. At the DAS, or the Department of Administrative Services, we have made a conscious effort to make it easier for companies to qualify for bids. One of the ways we did this is by allowing relevant experience to be demonstrated through the experience of the company's principal, not just the company itself. This allows newer businesses or those expanding into areas to qualify for bids. So please note, this is not the case in every bid, but where possible, we are making those changes. So know that as you're thinking about, do I want to do business with the state? Can I do that? You'll see that we've made some of those changes related to relevant experience. Another change is with equipment. Where possible, businesses no longer need to own the required equipment, but they must have access to it. This makes it a little bit easier for companies with less resources, but you'll still need to meet those terms and conditions of that particular bid. So of course you need the equipment and everything that is outlined in that particular solicitation. But you'll see that we're trying to work with some of the businesses and putting some of those T's and C's, or those terms and conditions, in some of those solicitations. So you'll see that. The next is make sure you have the financial capacity to work on a government project. You'll need to be able to pay yourself and your workers while you wait for payment. We do have payment terms. I talked a little bit about that earlier, but you need to have that capacity financially. As mentioned in the very first slide, right? Payment terms are net 45 or 25, depending on the type of business. The 25 is statute for certified small businesses. And although not required, we recommend submitting a capability statement with your bids. This is a great way to show your relevant experience and your capacity. Along those lines, including any certificates, even if they're from other states, that may provide added value to your bid or to your bid or your RFP, which is a request for a proposal, depending on the type of solicitation. So again, adding those certificates, adding that capability statement that really talks about your business has added value when you're doing business with the state of Connecticut. Next slide.
Now, reviewing requirements. So before submitting a bid, you will need to make sure you meet the bid requirements. As I said earlier, every bid is different, so you want to make sure you review that. But also consider the awardee requirements in case you win the bid. Your company will need to meet the specific insurance requirements outlined in that bid. So make sure you are working with the right insurance company. Legal representation can also be helpful. A lawyer with experience in public sector contracts can help you navigate negotiations and understand the contract terms. Depending on the type of solicitation, for example, request for proposal, some may require more legal assistance than others. One of the most important contract terms is indemnification. Your company will be required to accept legal, all liability for acts of omission. So make sure you are willing to accept this before putting in the time into the bid or building your proposal. Be prepared to have your work performance rated on Procurated. This is a public sector supplier review website. This is very similar to Yelp for the public sector. All public procurement departments that use the service will see your reviews for Connecticut work. Make sure you are up to the jobs that you submit so that you can have a positive review.
Thanks, Natalie. So I'm going to pause here and just kind of remind you of the two things that we talked about earlier. We talked a little bit about, we're going to tell you why we want you to do business with the state, what's the benefits, and we talked about the 5 C's. And then we talked a little bit about what do you need to what do you need to do to be prepared minimally to think about doing business with the state of Connecticut. As we navigated through some of those things, we talked about, the compliance, the FEINs, and making sure that you have your licenses and things up to date. We talked about demonstrating your capacity and gave you some examples of some of those items that will be looked at when you put in your solicitation. And then the insurance and the legal requirements, because those are things at minimum that you have to be aware of if you're looking to entertain doing business with the state. And we find this a lot where we're hopeful that this checklist, as you look at it, and literally you check, yes, I can do that. Yeah, I'm good, because you want to be prepared when you actually put in your bid or your request for a proposal. As Natalie mentioned, I want to highlight the last piece that she did talk a little bit about was the prorated, where it's a new system. And the reason I stumble on it is because it's very new. We launched that at the Department of Administrative Services just about 2 weeks ago. And it is just like Yelp. And we do that because as you're on a state contract, we want to make sure that you're performing the terms and conditions, and that your customers, your state agencies, or your municipalities that are procuring off of that contract are satisfied. So yeah, be prepared to have those ratings and those vendor performance, both good and bad, will be out there to the utilizations, the companies that are utilizing you. So again, kind of be aware of some of that. So I wanted to pause and just kind of regroup on that. The next slide is, we also wanted to talk a little bit about if you're a Connecticut-based small minority-owned business, you may be eligible for our certification here in the state of Connecticut. And that's something to think about, because we're not going to get into the specifics today, because this webinar is really about how to find contracts, how do you get involved with state contracting. But this could be another tool in your proposal. If you are a Connecticut-based small business, you may be eligible to be certified. We have an online web-based application. Happy to share that with you. And the reason being is because 25% of all the procurable dollars here in the state of Connecticut that state agencies have in their budget must go to certified small businesses. To help agencies meet this requirement, DAS, we offer set-asides. What does that mean? That means that you will see solicitations out on our procurement portal that are set aside for those companies that hold certification as a Connecticut-based small business. So of course, if you have that certification, you now have added value and you have more opportunities to participate in some of those set aside. So it's worth looking into that certification. And we'd be happy to share some of that with any of you that are of interest to that. Again, bringing that as part of your package when you start participating in some of our procurement opportunities. And the next slide, and Natalie, I apologize. Are you doing this one?
Yes.
Thanks.
So the final task on the checklist is to register on our contracting portal, known as CT Source. Before we proceed, we're going to jump into CT Source, but we would like to know if you have any questions on the previous slides that we have presented.
And we can look at the chat. I don't see any in the chat, but if you have any, we'll answer those again at the end. We wanted to kind of pause because we gave you a lot of information, but now we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of how do you register on our portal. Many of you know that there's a lot of states and a lot of municipalities that have different portals. Natalie's going to talk to you a little bit about the very first step in how to register to get involved with the State of Connecticut procurement. Go ahead, Kat.
Okay, so CT Source, there are 3 sections, and the first section is the supplier registration. In order to get this started, you will need to register in order to see those opportunities within our portal. But there's another benefit to the registration. Whenever a solicitation posts that is related to the products and services that you sell, you'll receive an email notification on that opportunity. This is important because state agencies, municipalities, political subdivisions such as quasi-agencies post solicitations here, and often on a daily basis. You may even learn about regional and national opportunities when you participate in one of these. And solicitations are only open for a specific period of time, which can be as short as 5 days, so it's important to learn about them as soon as possible. Registration is simple and requires just a few items. 1, the business legal name as it is presented on your tax return. Your taxpayer ID, which is your FEIN number as covered in step 1 of the checklist. Your main contact information and your commodity codes.
If I could just interject, Natalie, before we go to the next slide, it's important to know as we talk about registration, and it's so important for you as a business owner to first just do this registration. Natalie had said it's fairly simple, but we have many videos on our website currently that you can watch, and it gives you a demo, right? I'm a visual person, so if you watch the demo first and then register, you'll find it very easy. Thank you.
Yes, and to add to that, when in the screen right now, as you see on the left side, it says registration. There's a guide. So the 3rd one down, when you log in, when you're in this page, if you click on that, it takes you to a PDF. It's a guide letting you know step by step how to complete your registration. Okay, Meg, this is your slide.
Sure, we're going to go to commodity codes. And again, for those of you that are on the call, we will make sure that we put all these links in the chat as well. So you'll have those. So you'll have a direct link to CT Source and be able to register should you choose to. Natalie went over the registration. So in the registration process, there's 4 pages to that application. They're fairly straightforward. This slide shows you the final page, and this is where you'll choose your commodities, where your UNSBC codes, many of you should be familiar with those, or each code refers to a commodity or a category of your products and services. So you can search, you can use the search bar at the top left to enter keywords related to what you sell, and you may select as many as needed. So we suggest you choose both high-level categories and specific, so there's subcategories. Those codes that you choose will determine which solicitation notifications you receive. Again, the codes that you choose will determine the solicitation notifications that you receive. So, you know, choose those wisely, because we don't want you to miss out on any opportunities in that notice. When searching, check relevant items on the left, and they will automatically appear on your list on your right, right? So, and you can delete those. So don't worry if you're going through saying, I'm going to check this. Oh, wait, I want to delete something. I'm not sure. This is a very important part of your registration. Remember that whenever a solicitation is posted that is related to the products and services you sell, you'll receive an email notice. The system uses these codes to determine which solicitations to send you. If you choose none, then the company will not receive any solicitation notices, right? So you're going to register, you're going to tell us the commodities and services that you want to be proactively emailed on. Thanks now.
This is your slide, Meg.
Returning to CT Source, we're going to move to the second section. So the first section, we talked registration, right? You're going to register. The next section is equally important. This is our bid board. This is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? You can come in here and look at these bids. I often get calls all the time saying, how do I find out what the state of Connecticut has out on the street for procurement, for bids? This is where it is. We post everything on CT Source on this bid board. In addition to receiving those emails when bids are open, you may search for open solicitations here, right? To submit a bid, you'll follow the specific instructions provided on each solicitation. So we're going to do a live demo now on how to search for a bid on the bid board. Natalie's gonna drive, and we're gonna show you what you'll see when you get here to be able to see and search for a bid. In searching for a bid, I would suggest that you begin with the search filters. So Natalie, I don't know if you're gonna go kind of do
Yes.
that. I'll wait for you to catch up, because I want everyone, again, I'm a visual person, and when you get back to your offices and you say, oh yeah, I remember Natalie and Meg talked about this bid board, and we give you this, you'll be able to say I'm in the right place because you have a visual. This is what it looks like. In searching for bids, we do suggest that you begin with the search filter, right? So in which case, you can type in a keyword, you can type in a bid number, and you'll have it. I'm going to type in, or Natalie's going to type in water. This is a strange one, but that's what we picked. Just to illustrate, right? This brings up over 1,000 bids, right? So you now can use the filter to redefine your search. If you want a specific organization, you can select organization. You'll see that. You can uncheck and include all sub-organizations. There's a list of categories on each. Each has a drop-down available, so you can find a specific agency, right? All the state agencies post on this. Municipalities, yes, they post on here as well. The 169 municipalities post on here. Organizations, some of the quasi-organizations post on here as well. You can choose status. Most likely you'll want to see bids that are open, right? Because you're looking to see, okay, what's out there for me, a small business owner, to participate in. So you can check open. And you also may be able to choose what bid type or commodity. Listen, if you're a graphic designer and you only want to look at bids for graphic design or media or whatever, you can do that. So know that there's a very robust search mechanism on the bid board. Okay. Now I have a more manageable list to review, right? Because now I've organized it. I've said I've only want certain categories or certain agencies. I want to draw your attention to the lightning bolt. And Natalie, if you can just kind of show them that. The lightning icon identifies bids that will end soon, right? So that should jump out at you, right? Oh, I don't have a long time. I better go look at this one. The arrow indicates that a bid has been amended. So if you were looking at a bid and came back in, you might want to take another look at it because something changed and it could be of importance to you when you're putting your bid together. When you have opened the bid, we can open one, you'll find all the details you need for submitting a proposal, including a contact person who can answer questions, right? You can see the end date of that solicitation. So you can find a lot of information right on this particular bid board, and you can use that. Unfortunately, our system does not save this as a favorite. So if you're in a bid and you're looking at it and you want that, I would download it or print it so that you have that. You can always come back in and look at it as well. It just it's not going to save it as a favorite for you in this on this second tier in the bid. So that's, you know, that's the bid board. This is something that I hope a lot of you kind of say, oh, I'm going to go explore and look. There's a vast array of bids ranging from several commodities. And again, not just state agencies, 169 municipalities as well as quasi agencies are posting on this site. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, Natalie, was I supposed to do something? I apologize for everybody.
No.
Okay.
Now we're gonna be, it's the contract board, and this is your final section, Meg.
Thank you. So now we took you registration. We took you to the bid board. Okay, now the final section is the contract board. This board includes all current and expired contracts. And this is, I use the term, it's a gold mine of valuable information for you. I'm going to start a live demo to show you the board features, just as I did with the bid board. And this will explain how to use the board most effectively. So this is the contract board, right? The search works it's very similar to the bid board. The only difference is that you may search for specific suppliers by clicking on the magnifying glass. So I'm going to
1 second, Meg, I have to.
Yep. I'm going to wait for Natalie to catch up with me because I want everyone to see the contract board. We are open and transparent. Everything we do is out on this contracting or this CT source. So, you know, I get calls a lot of time. Well, how much are you guys paying for this service or that service? Everything is here. You can look at that contract and you'll be able to see all that information. So again, while the bid board is important for you to find opportunities, the contract board is good for you to see what we're paying, see who's on there, so you can gather some information. Natalie started the live demo. Here, I mentioned the search works the same as the bid board. The only difference is that you may search for a specific supplier by clicking on the magnifying glass and then entering the supplier name. They will only show up if they're on a contract, right? For example, we're going to put in C&C Hydraulics Incorporated to see if the contract, we'll be able to see their contract and click on their name in the drop down. So you see how Natalie is doing that, and then their name shows up. You want to know if anybody's on a contract, you put them in and you follow that. I'm going to show you, thanks, Nat. I'm going to show you a current contract, a media contract, because I want to illustrate something for you. So we're here and we're going to enter the contract number because we know that, but we could do it by media. You could do it by anything, but let's put in, Natalie, let's put in 24 PSX.
Yep.
0020, and then you click, right? And here we are. At the top, you'll find the contract description, the contract administrator's name and email. And as you scroll down, you'll see a lot of details, right? A lot of details. You can use this information in 4 ways. First, you can research for developing bid proposals. Down here at the bottom of the page, all the contract documents are here. When this contract goes out for renewal, you can see what was accepted on the last round and even the pricing, right? You'll be able to see what's the pricing, so I'm competitive. Secondly, you can identify future opportunities. If we, speaking of renewals, if we go back to the top of the page, you'll find the expiration date, right? So you see that in the year or so prior to this date, you can keep an eye out for that solicitation, right? You can be proactive and kind of working on, say, well, this solicitation is coming up for renewal soon. Let me see where that's at. You can identify subcontracting opportunities. There are a few ways to do this. You can find these during the bid process, right? You can attend pre-bid meetings in the bid process, but you can also do that here where you can use these contracts to kind of see if there's any opportunities for a distributor, right? You may be able to use these contracts to do that. And finally, you know, I'm going to return to the main page to show you the 4th way, if you don't mind, Natalie. If you're a dealer, right, in the search filter, you can look for piggyback or co-op opportunities. You can look there to see who's on those contracts and see if maybe there's some opportunity for you to partner with any of those. We mentioned earlier that we have national cooperatives. That's what these are. So there's a vast array of information on the contract board that you as a business owner can search and see if any of that is useful for you to hopefully parlay that into some opportunities and be able to educate you as to what we're doing for that commodity and service now and when that contract is up for renewal, so that you'll be ready when it is up for renewal. I will tell you that the DAS, our term contracts are 3 years. There's some that are longer than that because they were issued many years or a few years ago. The policy now is we are not having any longer than 3-year term for our contracts. So know that. Obviously, there's a few exceptions depending on the continuity of service for some IT or some exceptions. But the steadfast rule is 3 years. And that's again to provide for some opportunities for companies that may have missed that solicitation, that 3 years is not a long time for you. Then usually about 1.5 years into it, we're looking to put something out on the street or out to bid on that bid portal. Okay. Thanks, Natalie. Next slide. We're going to get out of the demo and we're going to go back to our slide, if you will.
So we have shared a lot of information throughout this presentation. We shared why you should contract, why should you contract with the state. We discussed the 5 C's of contracting with the state of Connecticut. And then we also went through a checklist to help guide you in how to contract with state work. So the checklist that we provided to help guide you through this process, and also we did a live demo of CT Source, which is our bidding portal, as Meg mentioned. Now we will open the floor to questions. But before we do, I want to share a couple of resources that will be beneficial for you. If you need additional assistance on CT Source, each section includes a link to a user guide. So in our main CT Source portal, as I had presented earlier, the registration has a guide. The bid board also has a guide, and also the contract board has a guide. So each section of CT Source has a guide that would help you through on how to understand and how to navigate CT Source. There's also videos available that can provide that assistance to you, but we're also here available for that. In addition, please check out our Supplier Diversity and also our CT Store website. We have also shared support emails for each program here. So in this presentation here, you'll see our Supplier Diversity email address and also our CT Source link. We offer services in English and in Spanish. So please reach out to us if you have any questions.
Thanks, Natalie. I see a few questions in the chat, and I'm going to reiterate those. Know that I believe this presentation will be provided to you, but we will also we also have that checklist that we're going to get to all of you as well, kind of guiding you through that process. Let me just tackle a couple of these questions. Can you provide the link for applying to the small business certification? Yes, we will put that in the chat. Encourage all of you to participate in that certification process. It is an online web-based application. And it works similar, I will tell you, it works similar to TurboTax, meaning that we're not going to get an incomplete application because it won't allow you to navigate through that process until you've given us everything we need on a particular page. So we've done that. We will put that in the chat and help you with that. I will tell you, related to that, we do provide many clinics, hands-on clinics, to help you with that process as well. So as Natalie said, we're here to help you on some of those. The next question is, I can get through it. Is it possible for a business to bid on all contracts, whether it's supplying fish food or construction? The business can bid on contracts as long as you have the capacity to do that. So, you know, if you're bidding on a construction solicitation, you have to have that capacity to do such, right? But you can bid on any bid. I don't know that there's a supplier of fish food that happens to be a contractor, but there may be. Do you also register minority businesses or only small businesses? Thank you for that question. In order to be certified as a State of Connecticut small business, it is an application process. We're going to share that with you. Everybody that participates in our program has to be a small business first. And then we would look at the ownership and the management and the technical expertise and the eligibility requirements for minority-owned business. And if qualified, we would certify you as a small minority-owned business. So it's the same application. It's just depending on the ownership. But I must be clear that you have to be a small business in order to participate in our program, which means that you have to be Connecticut corporate office based here in Connecticut. And there's some other guidelines on that. I don't want to get into that, but I can share that with you. But I hope I answered that question. Is it allowed to subcontract the work that is needed to be done, or does that depend on the contract? And it does depend on it depends on the solicitation. The solicitation, the bid would clearly state if subcontracting is allowed. And it would also delve deeper into distributors versus manufacturers. All those terms and conditions would be outlined before you got to the contract, right? So you knew what you were bidding on prior to. I will tell you that there is some parameters if that particular bid is out and it encourages or requires small business participation as a set aside. There's some parameters there that that particular small minority owned business has to do percentage of the work. So there'd be some caveats to that, and can answer those offline if you need that. A couple of other questions. Trying to move the chat down. I can't. Minutes left. Will I get a copy of the recording? I defer to SCORE on that. I'm sure they'll answer that. If you need a copy of the recording, you can email me. Could you please show us a demonstration of how to find upcoming contract opportunities and how to submit a bid? We tried to do that in the limited time that we had for that demo. Whoever's asking that question, please feel free to email, and we can show you and have a private demo for you. It's fairly easy, and we can help you with that. Meg, you mentioned demonstrating financial capacity. Could you give example of, this is, I think, the last question of, could you give examples of what are the requirements and how can a small business demonstrate financial capacity of running the contract? Sure. And again, I can't stress enough that the solicitation, the bid proposal will have that in there. There's a section that talks about financial capacity. And most of the time you're gonna provide some revenue stream, some your financial, your federal tax returns, and some of that is supported of your financial capacity. That is specifically outlined in that solicitation. So you won't be you won't get to the contract phase unless you've demonstrated that, and there's certain documentations that support that. I think that's the last one that I see. Happy to answer any of these other questions as needed. The last one I see is how long is your certification for small minority owned businesses? It is a 2-year certification. So there is that. And you do have to come back and get recertified. We do send out reminders. Everything we do, quite frankly, is really paperless and electronic. We do come out to the businesses and do some on-site visits as needed. So we still have that personal communication, but the small business owners have really asked us to kind of streamline our application and make it online. So you know, you can do it at all hours and you can go and come back and get some of that. So that's all on our website. The recertification application as well as the initial application is there. But again, as Natalie mentioned, and I can't stress enough, we partner with SCORE and with Diana's group here today. We do this because we want to be able to not only tell you what the benefits are for contracting with the state and the benefits of getting certified, but we have workshops and we have people that will help you with that. We're not just going to say go do it. We're going to help you with that process, because ultimately we want you to become a partner of choice. We want you to start thinking of the state of Connecticut as a client, right? We buy everything and we should be buying from you, the businesses, but we need you to participate in our bids so that we can ultimately do that. I'll turn it back over to SCORE, I think.
Okay.
I will tell you, we're getting a lot of questions. I don't want to take up all the time answering them, but I am going to go back and answer those, and we can get some questions and answers back to Diana. If you guys want to share those with the participants, we can do that.
Okay, thanks, Meg. That was great. I love it when you actually use the screens. It can be daunting to relearn a new system, and you really made that a lot simpler for a lot of people. I also want to note that part 1 was on April 17th in our government contracting webinar series, and that is available as a recorded webinar on our website if you didn't register for that. And part 3 will be live on May 1st. As a reminder, a link to this recording of this webinar will be sent to everybody who registered and will be available within a couple days on our website as well. Please check our website for information on upcoming events. That's fairfieldcounty.score.org. Again, SCORE offers free individual counseling, so please check out our website and click Request a Mentor. We're available for sessions via phone, email, or video. Also, please fill out your evaluations that will be sent at the end of the webinar. On behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's SCORE live workshop In closing, a big thank you to Meg and Natalie for presenting today. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.